First of all, you introduced me as Chrustowski. I'm a Holocaust survivor, and I was born in a little town in Poland. The name of the town is Gypsy, and I was one of 5 children. I was the oldest one. I had a sister, 3 brothers, and of course my mother and father. Next to me was my sister Lola. Then was my brother, the oldest brother, Moniek. Next to him was Shlomo, and the youngest one was 3.5 years old, Kalma.
And you were born when?
March, the 18th of March, 1923. My father's name was Yossel Ziegler. My mother's name was Jachet. My father was a bookbinder. He used to work for the city hall, repairing the books, and for the police he used to work for a long time. Short before the war, he changed his job. I don't know, for some reasons. The pay wasn't too good. He got a better job, and he took it. So, what I can remember, by the age of 4, I went to kindergarten for a couple of years. Until I was 7 years old, I went to grade school. I was a happy child, like every child, not knowing of the difficulties what used to be. Life was very hard. To make a living for 5 children was hard, struggling. But somehow my father tried to provide the best life, the best education. They liked to clothe us nice, but it was very hard to clothe 5 children. Again, in school, I used to have lots of friends, Jewish friends and Gentile friends, which I went to school with them. Sometimes it was very hard because the expressions that they used for the Jewish children that aggravated me for a little while, but I forgot and I played again with him. In my town, most of the Jews were very observant. Kashrut was very important in the house, and temple, holidays. They were happy times. I had a grandmother and grandfather. My grandmother was a very observant person. My grandfather was very Hasidic. And kashrut in the house, there was no question. We didn't know about anything else. Before the war, we started feeling already there was always antisemitism in Poland. Like, for example, come Friday night or Saturday night, we were afraid. They used to come, the Polacks got drunk, and they used to come to our town and break the windows. And we as children, you know, we were very scared. We used to hide. And then we start seeing all kind of writings on the Jewish doors from the stores, you know. Don't go in, don't buy from Jews. And all kind of size anti-Semitic signs we could see, feel. Even my best girlfriends, the Gentile, they expressed themselves, you dirty Jew, you this, you that, But as a child, you had heard it you for a little while, and then you forgot about it. You played again with them, you had to. You had no choice. I saw the changes, that they are scared, but I didn't realize anything. And I suppose they didn't realize what's coming either, because nobody could imagine. Every city was the same thing. Either it was a smaller town or a bigger city, it was the same thing. So, except if people could, they could afford it to go overseas, but we didn't think of it because we couldn't afford it. We had a neighbor, and she knew that I am very talented in sewing. When I finished school, she came over to my mother and asked her if I come and they will teach me how to sew. One day I was sitting with my father in the backyard on the stoop of the step, and we heard planes coming, and they threw bombs. We could hear the impact, from the bombs throwing. And we got very scared. My father said that something, we lived near the German border. So it took him, when they had the okay, it took him about maybe 10 minutes to reach our town. And they were the first bombardments. We ran into the house, and we knew that the war broke out, And then they announced, we didn't have a radio, but our neighbors had radios, and they announced that the war broke out. And then the tragedy started for the Jews. Each day was worse and worse. First, I think the second day, we witnessed some shooting. They grabbed men from the street, no matter Jewish, of course, Jewish men, women, whoever crossed that street, and for no reason, they just shot them down like the dogs. And each day got worse. Then we had a curfew. We couldn't walk after 6 o'clock. We weren't allowed to be in the streets. Then they put on the yellow stars that they recognize who is a Jew. Then systematically they started taking away the Jewish factories, the Jewish stores, putting in Germans in the stores. Then they threw us out from whoever had a house. We were on rent, but whoever they had homes, they took away the homes. And then they made a ghetto. They took a particular part of the town where no Jews ever lived there, and they took like 10 or 15 blocks, and they put around barbed wire, and they designated that place for the ghetto. And they took the Jews from all over town and shoved it in that place and locked us up. We couldn't go out from there without the okay. At that time, they put 2 families in one flat. They called a flat. It was a kitchen and a bedroom, They put 2 families in with children. And the conditions started to be terrible. We had outhouses, we didn't have any toilets in the house. There was no hot water to wash, to bathe the kids. We didn't have enough soap to wash. One day the Germans talked to the president from our Jewish committee, and he said that if every family sent away one member to Germany to work, the remaining of the family can stay home. So I thought, I'm the oldest one, I was healthy. I said, okay, to my mother, I said, I'll go, and you know, the whole family can stay home together, because my youngest brother was only 3.5 years old at the time. She cried, because to a mother, every child, no matter how old it is, how big it is, it's a child. But I assured her that I'm going to be okay. And in 1942, in February, I left to the concentration camp. We went by ourselves because that was our choice, either to, you know, to stay home, and they said send out everybody together, or if one from the family goes, the remainder of the family will still stay home. So I decided I'll go, and my girlfriend's the same way. So at that time, from our town, we left about 40, maybe 45 girls. We went to a town called Sosnowiec, and there was the main gathering from the young people who they took also from different towns, and from there they sent us to Neusalz. That was the camp where I stayed until four months before the liberation. It was like settling there, you know, because they just took us. We had to leave everything. You couldn't take furniture along. You couldn't, the most expensive things, you know, we had to leave. And whatever we took, some clothes for the children, food, there wasn't what to take because we got the rationing, you know. So it wasn't too much. Whatever we got every day that we ate. But the sanitary circumstances were just terrible. And in a way, I was glad to leave, because I knew that's not going to be too good, you know, staying in the ghetto. So I helped as much as I could. I helped my parents, my sister, my brothers, but there wasn't much I could do for them. And from there, they took us all together, and you know that I don't remember if it's I think it was a regular train that they put us on, and they sent us to Neusalz. In Neusalz, it was again, we came in to cold, dark barracks, and there was a factory from thread. It was called Göschwitz, and they gave us work there. We had to get up every morning at 6 o'clock, and we worked till 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock. In the morning when we left to work, we used to get a little hot coffee. No bread, nothing. We had rationing. They gave us twice a week pieces of bread. We didn't have that enough for one day, but We had to do it, you know. When we came back, we had to wait till dinner when we got back from work. At work, we had to work very hard. Me particular, I got a very hard job. Being short like I am, I couldn't reach to big machines. So they gave me a job outside. Summer and winter, I worked outside, which it was very hard. I can't explain you exactly the work, what I did, but I had to do with the thread when they cut the linen from the fields and we had to spread it out. In the summertime wasn't bad, but in the wintertime our fingers were frozen, you know, but we had to do it. When we got back from work, we washed up, and then was dinner time. Dinner time, we got a little soup, hot soup. And if you had leftover, if you portioned it right, made little portions, little squares of bread, every day a little piece. So we had with the soup a piece of bread. And in the evening, we got again black coffee, and we went to bed. We had bunk beds. We slept on straw sacks, no sheets. There were blankets. And that went by day, the same thing, nothing new, nothing exciting, no holidays. Matter of fact, when the foreman knew that's Yom Kippur, they knew when we have the holidays. Yom Kippur, he tried to push us more and to give us more work because it's Yom Kippur, he said. That took me till before the liberation. About 4 months before the liberation, we could hear the Russians. We could hear the I forgot what you called. The tanks shooting at Breslau. We were not far from Breslau. The barracks were shaking, and then they said it's time that they take us out from there. We hoped that we're going to see the end of the war. That was we had no communication. We had no radios. We talked about food, and we talked about our families. That was the everyday conversation, because we didn't know what's going on in the world. We were cut off of everything, you know. We had no news. Sometimes when we used to work with the French prisoners, and they worked in the fields too, they used to tell us that it won't take long, you know. They tried to tell us in German because we didn't understand French. That's all we knew, but otherwise we were just cut off from the world, you know. The Germans, when they promised us that if one member of the family will go to work, they will leave the whole family at home. That was the understanding. But they were liars. They lied, because I left in February. Pesach was in March. I got the first package from home. My mother sent me matzahs, which my father baked. She sent me, I don't know how, a kosher sausage, and something else was in the package, and it was a little writing that she doesn't want me to eat bread. That's why she sent me the matzahs. I was the first girl in camp that got that package. And they were home for Pesach. That was in March. And then I didn't hear nothing. I didn't know about anybody and anything. But now I know that right after Pesach, they made Judenrein. You know, they took all the Jews and sent them away from the town. And my mother went with my sister and with my 3 brothers to Auschwitz. My father, they sent away to a camp to work. But my mother with the children, they sent to Auschwitz. Even Auschwitz, my mother could have gone to work. But she said, because she was only 36 years old, she said that she doesn't want to leave the children alone. Wherever the children go, she goes. And she went to the gas chambers with the children. Matter of fact, I have an aunt in Argentina, and she was in Auschwitz too. And she said that she could hear they kept those people, they didn't have enough ovens to burn, you know, to gas them, to burn them. So they kept those people for I don't know how many days or a week in a place until they got place again to go on with the machinery. So when she went to work, my aunt, she could hear the screams from the people. They begged water. They didn't give him anything to eat or to drink. And that's all I know. And they took her to the gas chamber, and she died with the children together. My father I didn't know, but he was in the concentration camp, in a men's camp. I didn't know if he's dead or he's alive until the end of the war, you know, till after the liberation, which I will come to it.
You were talking about having to leave the work camp after almost 3 years.
That I stayed, yes, because the Russian came near and they want to send us out. So they sent us out from the camp. We had to walk. They sent SS people with us, you know, to guide us, that we don't run away, to keep an eye on us. We marched through Czechoslovakia. The Czechoslovakian people, they were very good. They want to give us something to eat, to drink, but they misled them. They told them that we are crazy people, that they are taking people in silent houses, and they shouldn't go near us because we were dangerous. So the people were afraid. Some people threw us down pieces of bread from the bridges, you know. We walked down on the streets, and they were on the bridges high, so they used to throw us down something. They felt sorry for us. We walked until Flossenbürg. That was a concentration camp too. They took us until Flossenbürg. We were wearing our clothes, what we got from home, you know, the regular clothes. In Flossenbürg, they took us in to the camp, and we didn't know. They told us that they're going to give us a shower. At that time, some girls knew already that in Auschwitz, they shower the people with gas. And one told the other one, and we were afraid to go in, but we had no choice. We had to undress completely and walk in. And as we walked in, SS, our Ukraine men stayed at the door with a leather whip, and each and every one who passed them, he gave a good one all over your back and your tush. So, and the girls went in before me for the shower, and they turned on the cold water, and they start screaming, And we were so scared, we thought that something happens already in there, why they screaming? But I went in too and took a shower and left my clothes. Until Flossenbürg, I had all the pictures what I took along from home, I had with me. So they said that we should leave everything outside. When we come out, we're going to find everything and we'll take it back. When we got out, everything was taken away, all the pictures and everything what we had, and they gave us clothes. They want us to look like crazy. Like, for example, me being so small, they gave me a dress that a 7-footer could wear, you know. I couldn't pull through my arms or my feet. A tall person, they gave a dress that they couldn't cover up the stomach. Just the reverse, you know, they want to make us look like crazy. So we were there for 2 days. The second day, they load us in the cattle trucks, and we didn't know where we're going, but they took us to Bergen-Belsen. And Bergen-Belsen wasn't a pensionat. There was again a struggle for life. We didn't work in Bergen-Belsen. That was the worst thing. We were just laying around. And once in a while, if somebody took us to I was in the small camp they called the Gypsy Camp because there were lots of gypsies there. When they took us to the big camp to bring the coffee for the girls, so once in a while I got to go, and the pay was another cup of coffee. That's what we got to pay. I was there till the 15th, 1945, the 15th of April. There I thought, I don't remember too much because at the end I got sick. But again, we lived from day to day. We saw thousands of people dying every day. And they gave us a job. I was with my friend, with Bronka Birnbaum. We were together. Yeah, we left our home together, and we were all the time together. They gave us a job to drag the dead people to the mass graves, you know. That was our job. We couldn't walk ourselves. We were too weak to walk, but that was our job. It was terrible, but we didn't have any choice. We had to do it. So finally, we were liberated from the English people. I don't know that, I didn't know at that time. Now I know because they told us that Bergen-Belsen was mined, you know. There were mines around, and there was a doctor who worked with the underground. And that doctor knew everything. The bread was poisoned. There were mines. A day later, if the English wouldn't have come, the day that they did, the whole camp would go up in flames, you know. But that doctor, he was a German doctor. Matter of fact, after the war, he went to Israel. He lived in Israel. And that doctor stayed with the underground, you know. He had communication with the underground, and he told them that if they don't come soon, that's what's going to happen to us. So one day I was sick already. We heard, there was shooting going on outside. And then we heard a voice that they said, in German, they said that we are free, that the English are marching in and we are free. And I stayed at the gate and I saw the first tank coming in the camp. And they were good to us. They gave us right away. I wish they would have done that in a different way. But the girls were starving for so many months, not having anything solid in your stomach. They gave us right away the cans with they meant it well, with the meat, with the fish, with you know, and our stomach, that was too rich for our stomachs, and the girls started getting sick, and I got sick too. I had typhus, and they took me away to the hospital, and all my friends the same way. But in Bergen-Belsen, it was terrible. We slept on the bare floor. We didn't have anything to cover up. Every day we counted how many girls are dead. One night I remember I couldn't straighten out or lift up my legs, and I said, "What's happened?" And there was my girlfriend laying on my feet, and I couldn't straighten out my feet. That was going on every day. I escaped while we were marching in Czechoslovakia. One morning, a girlfriend of mine, she said to me, "We have to escape. You see, it's no life. I don't know how it's going to be. They don't give us to eat, and we have still to walk." She said, "I am taking off my star, and I'm going to escape." And I didn't really think. I said, "Okay, I'm going with you." And there were 3 sisters, which we were friends too. They said to me, "Rose, if you are going, I'm going with you," all 3 sisters. So we opened up a window where we slept in a tavern on the floor at the time. I opened up the window and we all escaped through the window. And there were woods, you know. We were going through woods. But I heard talking German, you know, there were soldiers in the wood, and they told us that they are watching the woods, you know. There were soldiers, military all over. So I said to my friend who told me to go with it, the first one, I said, "I'm not going, I'm afraid, I'm gonna go back." She said, "If you don't want to go, don't go, I am going." And the 3 sisters, they said, "Rose, if you're not going, we are not going either." She went on, my friend, she said, "I'm not going back," and me and the 3 friends went back. As we walked back, I could hear shots, and they shot my girlfriend because the woods were, you know, full with the soldiers. We were lucky, we could jump in, still the window was still open. We jumped in through the window and we marched on. I said, "I'm not escaping anymore. What's going to happen, it's going to happen." From Neusalz, where we worked, and we worked on the fields, you know, we could see some other buses, not buses, but trucks, open trucks with people, you know. Every day they probably took him to work and from work, you know. So once I heard somebody talk Jewish, so I knew there must be some camps around. But we didn't know about anything what's going on, because they didn't tell us. We didn't have any radios, so we didn't know anything. Going back to the liberation, when the English came in, they gave us food, and most of us got sick. They took us to the hospital. I was in the hospital for 5 weeks. They shaved my hair because I had typhus. And laying in the hospital, we got letters they used to send from one camp to the other, telling people who is alive and asking for additional letters that the other people can hear from us, who is alive. One day I got a list, and my father was on the list, that he is alive, and that he is in Buchenwald. So after I got better, I took a journey to Buchenwald. And I saw my father, I met my father, but he died a couple of weeks later. He was very sick, and he died. So I was again alone. In Buchenwald, I met my husband, and we went to Poland, back from Buchenwald, thinking that maybe somebody's alive. But not him, not me found anybody. We got married in Poland, in Lodz, and we came back to Germany. We came back to a town called Windisch-Eschenbach. This is in Weimar, in Bayern, in Germany. Betty was born there. We lived there for 2 years. From there, we took off, we went to Bergen-Belsen. In Bergen-Belsen, we stayed for a while, and we registered to go to the United States. So in 1949, we arrived here in the United States with Betty. See, that's why we went from Windisch-Eschenbach, where we lived, we went to Bergen-Belsen to register. So actually, we registered for Israel and for the United States. And we said, wherever they send us, our quota will come, which will come first, there we go. And the number came to go to the United States. So we went to the United States. We came here in 1949, the 1st of October. Here we had to start a new life. Life was hard, but it was easier than in Europe. I came here with Betty. She was 3.5 years old at the time. I went to work. My husband went to work. And the Jewish family, when we arrived, somebody waited for us from the Jewish Family Service. They had already a flat for us, and we lived on the 14th in Wisconsin. And I can remember the first letter I wrote. I had a cousin who went to the United States 3 months before I did. And I wrote a letter to her. I said I came to the United States and they gave me a palace. I couldn't go through more different and heartbreaking experience that I went through in Europe. At home, when I had to leave my family, that was the worst experience for me. Reuniting with my father in 1945, and he died, I thought the whole world is going under for me. Coming to the United States, I didn't have bad experiences. It was hard times. We struggled. It's a new country, everything was new to me. But thanks God, I have 3 daughters. We educated them all. I think they, um, you know, I get so excited that I forget the words, but I have to use. They donated something to the country. They are good citizens. They are good children, and I'm very proud of them. Like I can tell you, at home, during the war, my father used to bake. He was a baker too. So he used to bake, not somebody knew about it, not that the Germans knew about it, just to make a little money on the side. He used to bake sweets, you know, pastry. And I used to go as a Aryan, you know. I put on a little babushka over me with a bag, and I used to bring him to the houses, you know, to sell him. Once a German stopped me, and I don't know how I talked myself out of him. There were many experiences that you wanna remember all of them, and you don't you wanna forget them. But they were different stories to tell. Like I used to tell my children that they used to, the Germans, you know, they used to make catch. They want to get men, you know, to work. So in the middle of the night, they used to knock in the doors, and you didn't know where to escape, where to hide. Once they knocked at our doors, and I jumped, I don't know, until they came into the house, I jumped out from the house, and I jumped into a garbage, not a can, but there was a wall with two doors, you know, and there was that garbage container, and I jumped into that container, you know, to hide the. I told that to my children, and they couldn't understand how I did it, how I could jump into a garbage can. But when we were in Poland, that same thing, that same garbage can is still there, and I showed them. And there were many experiences that you can even explain. My friends, which they're called friends, you know, they moved away. That was a small town. They moved to bigger cities. The old people, there were several of them who remembered my family, my parents, and they remembered me too as a little girl, but not too many, because at that time there were older people already, you know, and 40 years went by. So some of them, the younger one, I talked to about 3, 4 of them which are alive. Otherwise, the older ones died, and the new ones the younger ones moved away. But it looked terrible. If somebody would give me today a ticket for nothing, I would never go back, because it's just a heartbreak, you know. I knew every stone which I was poured with Jewish blood over. So, but I showed my children the school where I attended, and the shul wasn't there already because they burned the shuls, you know. But I showed them where my grandmother lived, where my aunt lived, and that's all. It was very hard. It was very hard. It was heartbreaking. I knew after the war, you know, my father told me that they sent them away, but my aunt told me that she was between the people who screamed for water, and that's all I know. And that's all I have left for my family is my aunt in Argentina, and one cousin in New York. That's all is left from our family from 200 people.